Hello, guys.
Hey, Dino.
Hey, guys. Welcome to the Carpool Honcho. Today, we've got a mind-blowing guest. We got Greg Menendez from Like Never Before. Woo! Yeah.
It's so good to have you here with the Carpool Honcho. My name's Dean Payne from the Crate Flexible Office Space.
I'm Rory from the Marketing Guys.
And as we mentioned, the honcho today is Greg Menendez. This guy's been a long time friend of mine. One of those guys that you meet and you hope he gets to hang around in your life. You're going to love this today.
Thanks, Dino.
Greg,
Thanks, mate.
song, mate. What's your song choice?
Oh, song. Yeah. So I've chosen a song by Pharrell Williams, and the song is Happy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Let's groove it.
Yeah, totally.
We've got a DJ in this car, and his name is DJ Roro.
So, Greg,
Dino.
why the song?
Well, look, it's a really great question. I coach people. I coach people on how the mind works. And when I talk to people about their goals and they say, I want to do this, this, and this, I go, great. Why do you want that? And they go, oh, because of boom, boom, boom. Cool. Why do you want that? Boom, boom, boom. And when you ask that question to the point of no return, the ultimate answer is they just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? It's what we all want.
We do.
But people fall into a trap where they put their happiness outside of them, in their goals, in the future. And happiness doesn't live there. It actually pre-exists inside all of us. And that's what I do. I teach people how the mind works. They come home inside themselves, and they realize that they are happy before their thinking, before their intellect.
Yes.
It pre-exists inside us. And when you live there, you're happier, you have more energy, you have more perspective, courage, grace, love, insight.
Peace.
Yeah. Peace, tranquility, contentment, all these things, happiness, are all baked in. And when you live there, it changes how you experience life, how you see the world. And you also get in touch with who you truly are. And people start to create based off that truth. And their goals change and they become more true and more real. And it's a great place to live. So it just felt like a good song.
Very good.
Plus, it's a good song to sing along to.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we did pretty well, boys.
That was a fun one.
For some old crooners.
Right, should we go for a drive?
Yeah, please, mate.
So, Greg Menendez, tell us your backstory, mate.
Well, look, I've always been really deeply intrigued by how the mind works. I remember actually when I was 5, I went to my dad. He's a doctor. I'm dyslexic, so I didn't read. And my dad had a book of the anatomy. It's like a picture book. It had an outline of the human body and all these clear pages. And you'd unfurl each clear page, added one more organ to the body, and
Right.
you'd build the body.
Yes.
I was 5 and I was mesmerized. And I went to my dad when I was 5 and I said, hey, Dad, how come we've got 2 brains? You always said we've got 1. Clearly we've got 2. What's up with that? And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's a squiggly bit here and there's a squiggly bit there, pointing to the brain and the gut. We've got 2 brains. You've been holding out. What's up with that?
Wow.
And he sort of chortled and said, no, we've only got 1. And it's like I had an epiphany. I knew he was wrong, but I had no argument, which is a weird place for a 5-year-old to be. But that gave birth to me, inside me, this perpetual curiosity for how that second brain works and why people behave the way they behave.
Wow.
And that's never left me. But back to the short story, I trained in engineering in Massey and Palmerston North. I did a Bachelor of Technology, which is all about productivity, making systems more productive.
Yeah.
I did my honours project in noise attenuation. How can you remove noise from the environment to enhance productivity?
Cool.
And ironically, it's what I do now. I teach people how the mind works.
Yes.
That reduces the psychological noise inside them,
Yeah.
and it leaves them in life happy and productive, so they can realise their potential. So I'm actually doing exactly the same thing with a completely different tool set, which I think's ironic.
Because that really is a major issue today, right? People are just, their minds are cluttered with noise.
Totally. All noise, no signal.
Yeah.
Everyone's there, and it's no fun.
Everyone just thinks life's getting faster and more paced and busier, but is it?
Well, it's a good question. I get asked that quite a lot. It looks like it is, But what's actually, life hasn't changed speed. Our thinking about life has sped up. And we're not actually experiencing life, we're experiencing our thinking about it.
Yes.
So if you've got fast thinking, your life is going to be fast.
Wow.
So I could, for instance, have a to-do list of 50 items, put it in front of two people. One person can remain calm and the other person can freak out because it's so long. So clearly it's not the list that's freaking people out. It's their thinking about it.
Yeah.
And most people have an unnaturally high speed of thinking, and that gives them an unnaturally high experience of the pace of life.
So you spoke about when you were a kid, you saw two brains in this body format. So I used to think this is the mind and stomach or gut relationship was just rubbish until I experienced it.
Yeah.
Is stress causing us to feel what we're feeling in our body, and is it really making us as freaked out as we are as individuals?
Well, my first question would be, when you thought it was rubbish and then you experienced it, and now you can't deny it, right?
No.
Yeah. So that speaks to the power of what I point to.
Yeah.
Like, you have an experience and it's so clear and so obvious and so true, it creates a transformation, and you've moved from being a non-believer to a believer.
Yeah.
Another way of saying that, Rory, is to say that you've gone from not understanding how it works to understanding how it works, which is really helpful. That's the journey I take people on.
Right.
But stress, it's an interesting question again. Stress, is real in that people are really experiencing it.
Yeah.
Their reality is full of stress.
Yeah.
That is happening. But it's not coming from life. It's 100% internally generated from our thinking about life.
Right.
And when people have that aha moment and see how their psychology works and see the nature and power of thought, they realize that their experience essentially is made up.
Yeah.
Another way of saying that is their experience is essentially an illusion.
Wow.
Therefore, stress is made up and it's an illusion. So it's real, but it's not true.
That is powerful. That's great.
Does that make sense? That was like a lot of information.
Deep. I just want to,
yeah.
I guess let our audience know I've had the privilege of being on one of your workshops. We went away.
We had a good time, eh?
We had an amazing time.
Yeah, that was great.
At Piha for the weekend. My wife came along. It was a game changer for us. Seriously, a game changer for us. And the whole understanding that the mind only works one way.
Yes.
And you teach on that. Tell the audience a bit more about that.
Yeah, that's another great question. So the mind does only work one way, and the way I talk about it is that it works from the inside out. So what I'm pointing to is that our experience of life, like life is out there are things out there, but our experience of it is 100% internally generated from the inside out via thought. Most people don't know that that's how it works. So they're not awake to that. They think life is coming at them.
Yeah.
And they think the power is out there.
Yeah.
As a result, their environment, their situations, their circumstance, the people, the relationships look like the power is out there.
Yeah.
It pushes them around and they end up being the victim of their environment. Whereas when you see that it's internally generated, you flip from being the victim of your environment to being the victor of your internal creation. And it's stress-free, you're more present, you're more relaxed. And, mind essentially is this flow of potential. It's like an intelligence that's living and flowing through you. And when you see how it works, you're more calm and present and you're plugged into that flow, and it fuels you. It fuels you such that you can live your best life, do your best work, realize your potential, which is why we're on the planet.
Oh, sure.
That's why we're here, right?
Sure. To enjoy life.
Totally.
But isn't it like a good sportsman conditioning themselves like a good baseball player? They've got to go into the nets and bat. Is it something that we just change like this, or is it something we need to condition ourselves to do on an ongoing basis and train our minds to actually think that way? Because I think as career people, we just go one way and hard.
Yeah. Well, that would be part of the big misunderstanding of how psychology works.
Okay.
So I share a new understanding for psychology, which says there is no conditioning required and no training.
Yeah.
And in fact, there is nothing to do.
Wow.
So if you recall to the situation or the experience you had where you came a believer because you had that experience, that transformation was instantaneous. Yeah. And you didn't do it. You received it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Wow.
Cool,
That's
eh?
crazy.
Yeah.
And straight away, the weight's off your shoulders, right? Life gets lighter, gets easier,
Yeah.
more fun, more enjoyable, and that's what I love about what I clicked into or received when I was on this workshop.
Yeah.
Is suddenly all the doing, all the planning, all the concept that if I didn't do it, if I didn't do all the work, it wouldn't happen. Actually, if you allow your mind, as Greg would teach you, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that, to do the work for you, then there's a lot less doing, a lot less heavy lifting to do, right?
Totally. Well, like literally, mind can do the heavy lifting for you. And I like what you say, Dino, because some people ask me, what do I do? And they sort of want me to explain it in lay terms. And I say, well, I just help people get out of their own way.
Yeah.
We are always in our own way.
Totally.
We're our own worst enemy. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Greg, you were talking before about, the mind only working one way. Can you give us an example in your life of where, you were operating from the outside in, as in life out there? Yeah. You used to have a bit of a bad habit, didn't you, mate?
Oh, you're talking about the road rage?
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny, we're in a car, so maybe that's a good story, because I did used to suffer from road rage quite badly. I'd swear and unless they were a big guy, because then I'd be flipping the dirt under the dash, right? You got to be, self-preservation's key. And when I realised that our experience of life is internally generated, I realised that when people cut me off, they can't annoy me, they can't frustrate me. That's not how it works. That's just not possible. And so the road rage dissipated by 99%. It shows up now and then, which ironically is really helpful because it tells me I'm not grounded and it wakes me up, which brings me back home to my happiness, right?
Right.
So the little bit that I get wakes me up, brings me home where I'm happy. And now I sing and listen to audio books, let people in and wave, and it's a completely different experience. Like I've always loved driving, but like now there's no grit, there's no frustration.
Wow.
It's like it's a good time.
Greg, seriously, and I'm playing the other side of the fence here, but surely someone cutting in, beeping their horn, swearing at us, they are causing me to feel like that. No?
Well, again, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately it's an illusion, but our reality is so real. It's incredibly easy to see think it's true. And what I share is invisible. And for a lot of people, they to see something invisible is tricky. That's why these workshops are 3 days long. It's not a short conversation. It takes a bit of time.
Wow.
It's a critically important conversation. But when people realize that their reality is real but not true, that's a game changer.
I mean, you talk about two different people experiencing the same thing, right? Whether it's 50 tasks in road rage, like I've never really had a road rage problem, right? I laugh at people. I just think, you're so ridiculous. Really? Like that's going to cause you to get upset?
Yeah.
Whereas for someone else, in your experience, the blood pressure started to boil up real quick, right?
Yeah.
But it goes to show that it's not the person that's cutting you off, right? Or having a bad day that actually ruins your day. It's our thinking that influences how we feel and causes us to react or explode or chill.
Yeah, totally. And as you say, you can see that in life. A classic example is you might go to the movies with a friend or your partner or whatever, and you're having a drink afterwards and talking about the movie and say, oh, what do you think of the lead actor? And you go, oh, I thought he was great. And the other person goes like, oh, I thought he was a twat. It's like, really? It's like, so clearly it's not the movie.
Yeah.
The difference is happening inside the person. Yeah. And some people say, oh, it's your history, your past, the way you were brought up. But if you look behind that, you arrive at a constant, which is thinking.
Yeah.
And we've all got different thinking inside us. Some of it's hidden, some of it's helpful, some of it's unhelpful. But just seeing how the system of thinking inside us works, it's a game changer.
Yeah, sure. So you're always going to meet people in life that are going to treat you badly, or bosses that are really horrible. But what I always say to my wife that helped me a lot in life is, I always say that the issue's not with you, it's with them. And if you can take that sort of thought off yourself and say, shame, there's somebody that's hurting there, and maybe treat them differently, that might work out to a better situation. Is that true?
I think there's more to it. Because there's two individuals, which means there's two systems of thinking at play.
Yeah.
you're completely right that the other person has got some stressful thinking.
Yeah.
Therefore, they've got a stressful experience of life.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're reacting to that. And that's what most people do. They are reacting in life. But there's also thinking in the other person. And as an example, they might have some thinking in them, which is, I'm not good enough. And they may naturally, we're always making our thinking true. And they could end up navigating towards bosses that give them a hard time because it makes that thinking true that they're not good enough.
Wow. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Law of attraction. Wow. That's interesting. Wow.
And the cool thing about insight is that insight will reveal that thinking to you and subtract it out of your realm. And when it's gone, you can't experience it again. You can't make it true because it's gone. And insight will subtract that thinking for you. Whereas if you don't know how that works, most people monitor their thinking. They're very vigilant about their thinking. They monitor it and they try to manage it. Yeah. And that is exhausting.
Yeah. Tell me about people suppressing their feelings in this stressful environments and world by using alcohol, suppressants, over-the-counter drugs. Why are people doing that, and how can they overcome that? Because we sort of tend to lean on these crutches in life, and I don't think it's the right thing to be doing.
Well, speaking from my own experience, I never really understood my emotions. I didn't know where they came from, and as a rule, they had a unhelpful, destabilizing effect on me. You know what I mean? They weren't a helpful phenomenon in my life. So I sort of pushed them away and buried them and tried to ignore them.
Men do that a lot, don't we?
I think men would do it more than women. And it's our ego pushing them away to protect us.
Yeah.
But when people realize how the mind works, it points to the source of all of their experience, including their emotions. So they stop suppressing their emotions and they start feeling them all truthfully, because it's a great source of intelligence known as EQ, emotional intelligence. Yeah. So emotional intelligence is someone's ability to use their emotions as a way to make sense of, understand, and surface new breakthrough thinking.
Wow.
But most people don't even know that's available.
No.
Because they lean on IQ, which is leaning on brain. When you lean on your emotions, you're leaning on mind.
Wow.
And brain is great, Dino's using this brain now to drive the car.
Are you?
Most of the time, hopefully we'll remain safe. But the brain's really helpful because we can, drive to work and iron a shirt and cook dinner. But it's not. The potential of the brain is tiny compared to the potential of the mind.
Right.
The mind is pure potential and it's unlimited.
Right.
So if you want to realize your potential, you want to live in mind and from mind, and then it's game on.
Cool. Yeah. That is super cool.
So I no longer ignore my emotions. They feed me. They give me intelligence. They don't push me around, so I don't need to anesthetize myself.
Good.
So the substance abuse. Not that I used to abuse substances, but I don't need to do that. And I said to my clients, a lot of my clients actually have given up drinking because they just don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is their choice.
Very good.
Yeah, I actually don't give my clients any advice at all. I plug them into mind because mind is the best source of advice known to mankind.
Yeah.
So that's my job.
One of the ways to explain what you do, and just a reminder for everybody out there, your business is called Like Never Before, and you help people to, number one is to understand how the mind works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you actually kind of slow that down and having done the workshop, to walk away and go, oh, now I understand how the mind works.
Yeah.
If you kind of say that almost backwards, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just makes you slow down and realize that you don't have to be a victim of your own mind.
Yeah.
But actually, if you know how it works, you can go, oh, that's what you're up to,
Yeah.
I get it now. I can relax, not stress about it because I know that that's happening.
Yeah.
And for example, one of the key things, you helped us to, not just taught us, but it's to help it to sink in, was that behind every feeling is thinking, is thought.
Yeah.
And every feling that we experience is a product, a result of our thinking. Talk to us about that.
Well, firstly, it's true. And whatever you are feeling is essentially a reflection of your thinking. So it's like, you can think of it as a coin. and you could think of it as heads and tails. And if you're a dog and your tail's in the air, you're happy. That means on the other side of the coin, they're having happy thoughts. Whereas if the tail of the dog is between the legs and it's scurrying off, it's scared. The flip side of the coin is it's got scared thinking. And most people get that wrong. They think that they have an emotion and that generates thinking. Thought is the first cab off the rank. So it's the thing that hits the pond of life, and it creates a series of ripples. The first ripple is your emotion. Collectively, your thinking and your emotions collectively is called your state of mind or your mindset. Then of course that determines how you experience life. It determines, do you play a small game or a big game? It determines what you can create and what potential you can realize and unlock.
So I want to flip this conversation quickly.
So good.
Dean, you've done Greg's course before. How did it influence your family life after that course? How did that benefit you?
Spotlights on Dino.
Yeah, man. I had the absolute honour and privilege of going on this course, which I would sort of deem to be sort of a business,
Well, it is tax deductible,
Yeah. But I took my wife along, and we've been married for coming up 24 years this year.
Yeah.
And
congratulations.
Yeah, and mate, we're got a great marriage, all those good things. But you know what? Over a course of time, we'd fallen away from being a team.
Yeah.
And one of the massive takeaways from doing that workshop together was that I think it was our egos dropped.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much about being right or whatever, but understanding that actually each of us, in our relaxed, more grounded state, not trying to prove ourselves to be anybody or be anyone we're not, just grounded in who we are. I think you used the term of coming home. Yeah. Just being at rest, at home with yourself, that each one has a lot to contribute. Yeah. And so that was a massive game changer for us, and we just realize now that if something's going, wrong, or we're getting stressed out, or we're even getting grumpy at each other, we actually use the terminology. We just used it the last couple of days, like, oh, are you operating from the outside in or the inside out, right? Because as Greg teaches, 99% of the population live their life as if whatever's happening out there externally actually is the reality, but it's not. It's an illusion. So we now know that what is going on even in our family with our kids or whatever is a result of thinking that is going inside of each one of us. And an amazing example of that was we went to the movies just a couple of weeks ago, over Christmas holidays, a few weeks after. And as my wife is one of those people that she sits in a movie with any kind of action or thrill kind of thing. She's on the edge of her seat. Yeah. So we were watching Wonder Woman, Not that scary, right? But she's she's holding her seat, and I'm like, babe, relax. It's just a movie. Yeah. But as I said that to her, it reminded me so much of the workshop. It just helped me get a little bit of an analogy that we live our life on the edge of our seat, being by what's going on out there or what's happening on the screen of life, and how much it moves us and thrusts us and throws us around. Where in reality, what I've learned from the workshop and what we took away from the workshop is that we are the producers of our life movie. We are the movie makers.
You should teach us, Dino. You're very good at talking about it. He's got the
I'm so passionate about this, and I want our listeners to know this, that you want to spend time with this guy, and you want to get an hour with this guy. And if you're a leader and you've got a business, then if you can switch the way in which you do life, you just operate. What do they call it? Your modus operandi.
Yeah, modus operandi.
That one. If you can shift that and be grounded and relax into that, you will do life on a much higher level. Your productivity, your creativity, your innovation, your just what your success, relationships, everything will be on a whole nother level. So no, I'm very, very grateful. Greg, we've talked.
Your wife had a good time.
She did.
Like, sometimes on a workshop I'll coach people on the last day, and I had the privilege to coach your wife, and it blew my mind. And what a transformation.
Yeah.
So go Maria.
She's a rock star, man.
Yeah, totally.
So cool.
Yeah.
So Greg, tell us, I guess we kind of need to sadly wrap up. We've been going on a bit too long, but this is going to be one of those shows that is going to have an extended version because it's such good content. What do you do for people? What do you do for individuals, leaders, and what do you do for companies?
What do I do, or how do I do it, or both?
No, both.
Well, fundamentally, I help people to live their best life and do their best work. And when they do that, they will realise their personal potential and the potential of whatever it is they put their mind towards. Their project, their brand, their strategy, whatever. But also, not just at work, but also at play, because they could be into, windsurfing, and also at home. So it changes all their relationships. In fact, it changes the relationship that we have with ourselves, inside ourselves, and with life.
That's important.
Which is the core relationship. Once that one is grounded, present, healthy, happy, and whole, it permeates all your other relationships, of course. So that's fundamentally what I do. Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
That sort of covers it off, eh? And the way I do that is, as I said, it's not a short conversation. So I run a 3-day workshop out at Piha Beach every quarter. Mm-hmm. I now run the same workshop online via Zoom. We had to cancel one last year because of lockdown. We ran it on Zoom. We didn't think it would work, We thought this is going to be like, we sort of gave it away, right? We didn't think it would work.
Oh.
And we were blown away. People went deeper, more quickly and saw more on Zoom. It was like, it was a home run. It was unbelievable. So that's now, we've productized that. So we're going to be running probably 6 or 8 of those this year. Sometimes people want to work with me urgently, or they're a CEO, or they want privacy or whatever. So they'll come to me and have a workshop for one person. That's 4 days long. We call that an immersion. So I run those. Later this year, I start running a program which a lot of my clients have had insight, which has removed some serious illness from them. So I'm launching a workshop just around, I call it disease reversal. So we use the mind-body connection, which is creating the disease, in reverse to subtract the disease out of their body. So that's for people who've got stuff which is impacting their quality of life or their longevity of life, and they want to fix that up.
Incredible.
So I typically work with leaders first, and when leaders have that aha moment and they see the truth of this, then they go, oh my God, can you come and work with my team? So then I work with teams.
And that's where companies start to realise its full potential, right?
Totally.
When everyone's on the same playing field.
Yeah. The people, teams can get a lot more done in half the time, quarter of the time, much better results. So it transforms culture, productivity, performance, health, connection, relationships, the whole thing. It's probably the single. I often say to the leaders, if you're thinking about reorganising your company, send them my way, let them have insight, which will reorganise their psychology, and then it's game on. It's actually a much more, the return on investment from this intervention typically outstrips any other.
But even working with just the leaders, that would filter down to their staff naturally, right?
It does, via osmosis. Takes a bit longer.
Yeah.
And some leaders want to achieve a result more quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would.
Cool.
But typically you work with the leader, then the leadership team, and then you work with key teams, and then the culture would hit a tipping point eventually, and then that would carry it forward.
Very good.
So good. So good. I hope that you have loved this time with my mate Greg as much as what we have. And Greg, how do we get hold of you, mate? And how do we engage your services?
Yeah, I think the simplest thing is to have a conversation. Like, when people learn how the mind works, they become a pretty deep listener. And I spend a lot of time listening to people, and I listen to what they want to achieve, where are they in flow, where are they stuck. I then answer all their questions, and then we see if there's a fit. So they can go to my website, likeneverbefore.co.nz, click on the contact page, fill in the form, and then I'll reach out to them and make a time we have a chat.
Awesome.
So,
great. And does that cost us to do the initial chat? How does that work?
No. It's if it makes sense to work with me, then we'll figure out what's the best program, and there'll be a cost there. but I don't charge for the conversation and putting shape on the fit.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. What an offer.
You are absolutely crazy not to take up the offer. Spend
Crazy.
half an hour, 60 minutes with this guy. I tell you, I promise you that you will not regret it. It is time well worth spending.
Clearly impacted.
Yeah.
Greg, thank you so much.
Dino just made offered a money back guarantee, mate.
Guys, that is mind-blowing stuff. Thank you, Greg. But also thank you to our sponsors, the Crate Flexible Office Space, the marketing guys, Toyota New Zealand for the small business program, and also our business with locals. Guys, join us next time. Thank you so much.